Hey y'all.
Hey.
No, I really feel like we need the intro. Shaneka does it. I feel like we need like a...
We have an intro.
No, intro is something you always do. So I may be like, where are my dogs? You know, I've been trying to force that.
No.
But that
needs to die. Honestly.
What do you guys think?
Why don't you start off with your rap?
She can shut up. Don't even.
No, seriously.
Okay, so we're going to work on the intro because I thought it's important to have something that's like...
Yeah.
Like...
Okay.
Do that. Okay, so... How's your week been, my dear? My dear?
My week's been very good, actually.
You have had a good week, actually.
I've had lots and lots and lots and lots of fun this week. Yeah, it's been great.
Are you gonna? No, you're not gonna.
No.
Okay, wait. Question. Can I ask this question?
Go on, you can try.
I just want to. It's more of a question for them.
Okay.
Okay, how do you guys feel if I post? Can I ask if I post things on my social media?
Yep.
Like say if I'm out or whatever I'm doing, and you're my close friend, do you feel? Because I don't know. I might be possessive. I don't know if I'm overdoing it. As in, it's not everything people must comment on.
Yeah.
But what do you think that if you're doing something that's out of the ordinary or something a bit different for you, and one of your close friends sees it, do you think they should pop up?
Pop up and say what though?
I don't know. I'm a bit borderline. Might be possessive in a friendship because I feel like
is that possession or is that genuine interest?
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't have the genuine interest, is it now possession to expect it or feel like, sorry, why didn't you?
I feel like it depends on the person. If you know the person usually would,
okay,
and
yeah,
then
fair.
they're not, then that's a bit of a cause for concern.
Mm-hmm.
But if
man said cause for concern, so teacher-like.
But if generally they're not that type of person, then no. But I would like to know, like Charlene, when you're out and you're doing whatever you're doing.
When I'm outside,
I'm
baby.
always saying something extra.
I think I'm closer. Come close to the mic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm always saying something, doing something. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Personally, I feel like if you're close friends, then
you should at least be like, yo. Because I was whopping her snap. Her snap was looking lit this week. Let me tell you guys. Can I tell them why? What week it is?
No.
Okay. Just the snap was lit. I was feeling the vibe.
I enjoyed my life this week. This was a week of enjoyment.
Yeah, self-indulgence. It was all about you.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I can say I've had a good week and I'm ready for the week ahead.
Sweet as a nut, mate.
How was your week?
My week was actually, I've had a few interesting conversations this week. Quite a few interesting discussions, some heated discussions actually, of a close friend of mine. So it's been like but I've been proud of myself this week.
Okay.
Brownie points. Because I feel like I'm really evolving and becoming a lot more of what I want.
Okay.
And I'm actually it's uncomfortable because change is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm proud of myself because I feel that it's not something I'm used to doing. And I think I'm coming out my comfort zone to maybe like not just essentially make someone else happy, but I've really been focused on actually, no, what is going to make you happy? Yeah. So yeah, I've had a few like confrontations, but all out of love. There's no beef, everything's cool, but I not that I enjoyed it, but I feel like I was just happy that had the voice to be like, actually.
Yeah.
So actually that brings me on to, I did have a really interesting conversation yesterday. My friend invited me round and we started speaking about, what this actually, I just revealed exclusive that we're starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And her first question was, oh wow, like what's it going to be about? And I really thought, and I was like, do you know what, actually, that's something we've spoken about quite a lot. And I feel that it's really hard to portray what we want this podcast to be about on camera without directly saying it. So I thought, you know what, actually, let's just say what we wanted it to be about. And for me, it was a lot about, I want this to be the most transparent, the most honest, the most real, the most deep podcast that there is. Yeah. Because I just feel that I don't expect people to come and air their dirty laundry, because why should you? Yeah. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's
however, I do feel that what I've been through in life, I could only imagine that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And I do feel that actually it would be nice if there was a space that you could be very real and honest about what you've been through and how you've got to where you are. Yeah. And for me, that's what this podcast is about. It's about not just a general, why do men cheat? Where's her hair? I couldn't think of another topic. But we don't want to just, obviously, we'll chat about it because that is our common interest. But more so, I wanted it to more be about, you know, empowering others and that whole vibe. So for me, that's what about you? What is it? Why did you want to do this podcast?
I feel like, you know, it's an opportunity for other people to be touched. Like you said, like, not everyone is willing to be open and honest and, you know, real about a lot of things that they've been through, and that's completely, you know, their choice. You don't have to. But I feel like, you know, when you are open, there's people that can benefit from stuff that you've been through at a time when we were going through stuff.
I would have loved to be able to flick
there were so many other people that were going through the same thing, but no one knew because everyone was quiet. But there was at least 4 or 5 people at that time going through the exact same thing. But, you know, everyone was quiet about it. And at that time, even if it wasn't, you didn't have someone who had been through it before, but even if you had each other, if we had each other at that time to speak to, I feel like we would have felt empowered. We would have felt encouraged. We would have felt, you know, better. And we would have felt, maybe we wouldn't have gone through what we had gone through for as long as.
And the way we went through it.
And the way we went through it for as long as we did, because, you know, you would have been speaking about it. But to a degree, I feel like the podcast is an opportunity to speak. Speak and express the things that we've been through with the aim that it will impact others, the aim that it will empower others, it will encourage others, it will have an effect on other people's lives. Like Charlene said, it's not just to chat and, you know, discuss different, there are some of these things that will come up, but essentially it's to have an impact.
Yeah. Because, we do want to try our best to touch on not only what we've been through, but how we've overcome it. Yeah. Because a lot of people have been through things, but I feel that not everyone has overcome it. And I'm actually really grateful to God that we're in a position where we can say, oh, wow, I didn't think I was going to make it, but I did. And now I want to help others, because I would have loved there to be, people maybe doing this a few years ago that I could have just watched and got a bit of encouragement from. Definitely. So essentially their voice, their story is literally us having a voice about our story unapologetically and hoping that there'll be impact. So let's get into it. So what led on to that actually is we was talking about what our purpose is. So obviously, I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but me and Shaneka have been friends. I've not been able to shake her since year 3.
You needed me. What do you mean shake me?
Been trying to get rid of her. We've actually been friends from year 3 and we are now 31.
Wow, you
actually
didn't know
forgot. Damn, son. We are 31 now, so that is, I don't even know how many years that is. 20, whatever it is. And so I know you very well. Very well.
You think?
Well,
you sure?
I do. I feel like I know you so well. It's even annoying because sometimes when you try it brand new, I'm thinking, girl, I know you. I know when you're coming.
To act brand new the most.
No, I know when this girl's. I can read her text. I know she's coming with energy. I know she's coming with a vibe.
Today I know.
I just thought she better relax. That's why I said shh. Can we get into it? And that's what I like about our friendship.
Oh my god!
It's very raw. It's very honest. It's very like, she tried get pipe up earlier. I just replied back shush because I thought I know what you're trying to do, but I'm gonna just ignore her. So okay, question.
Okay.
Be as real as you can. What do you think your purpose is? As in, why do you think you are here?
Honestly, it's interesting because naturally, on a normal day, I would say never a no to a podcast. Mm-hmm. You can probably tell that out of the two of us, I'm not the most talkative. I'm not the most forthcoming.
Girl, no.
I'm not not in you. If it's like my Cody's, my friend, in settings that I'm close to, it's different. Mm-hmm. But naturally, I'm not really a camera person. This is me. So honestly, I feel that God really laid it on my heart that you have something to give. Mm. I didn't take you through everything you've been through for no reason. Mm-hmm. And it's not to keep quiet. Their voice is a big part of our name, because I feel like for a long time, I was silenced. I didn't feel like I could talk about how I felt. Mm-hmm. And, this is the opportunity to now speak about how I felt and how I've overcome and how,
and doing it boldly.
God has helped me. And boldly, like Charlene said, unapologetically.
Yeah. Because
I believe that is what God has called, me to do. I don't, you never know what, God has planned. But I prayed, I said, I'll give it to God, and whatever he does with it, he does with it. But I even feel like even starting to talk about our story is a big leap and a big step. Yes. So I strongly believe that the purpose is what God has called.
Okay, fairs. And I do believe that, because one thing you will learn as we go on with this podcast is that our lives have mirrored each other's.
Very scarily.
Quite scarily. And it's going to sound mad, but it's not even been by force. We've not tried. It may seem like we've tried, but I promise you it's been I think it's interesting how we've both got to a space where we're willing.
Yeah.
Because it easily could have been, I might have been ready to do this 2 years ago and you might not have been, or the other way around.
Yeah.
Because so often I've had a few people say to me, oh, you should do something in this nature. But I've always, I think about others too much. So I've always been concerned with, I don't want to share my story because I don't want people that have been a part of my story, I'm not trying to make anybody look any type of way.
Yeah.
And I'm very conscious of that. So I've been scared to share my story because I'm too concerned about how it's going to make other people look, as opposed to being like, well, no, I'm allowed to have a voice, and it's not to put anyone else down, but it's actually a testament to God to say, despite A, B or C, this is where I am.
Yeah.
And I feel that I wouldn't have been able to do this a year ago or 6 months ago.
Definitely not.
But we've been through a hell of a lot, and a lot even in the last year, and I feel that this just seemed like the right time where I'm like, actually, I'm not embarrassed, I'm not ashamed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed, and therefore I can bless others. And I feel that, in my life, my profession, spiritually, in my relationship, with my friends, I'm somebody that, if you haven't noticed, likes to talk a little bit. So this just seemed, because you can write a book and you could do all these things, which is not to say we're not going to do that, but I just feel like having a natural voice where it comes out authentically, I've not got time to draft it or rewrite it. This is just coming out straight. So I believe my purpose, I think God has intended this. I think he wanted us to be strong enough to be in a space where he could say, do you know what, this happens, that happens, but we're here. And I feel like, let's get into it.
Let's go.
So at this point, we're going to do like a little transition.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah?
We're definitely
Like,
doing that.
You know, like, it's got to be like a different slide. Like, psh, we're back. Okay, I've watched too much TV.
Yeah,
So, where do we start?
Where do we start?
Okay, so a question. So how the person you are today, which obviously I know, but they may not know, how do you think who you are now, like the Shaneka that we see now, how do you think your childhood has contributed to this person? Or do you think it has been a positive, do you think your childhood has had a positive impact on who you are today?
Ooh, that's a deep one. I would say in many ways it has. And I strongly believe that your past doesn't have to define you. Like, just because you've encountered certain things, it doesn't need to make who you are today. There were so many ways that I would say more negatively.
Okay.
So my childhood was quite negative in many ways. But I was able to identify those negatives and decide that, no, actually, either I'm not going to allow it to impact me in a negative way, or I'm going to turn it into a positive. So it was tough growing up.
Yeah.
Like, it was tough growing up. I didn't have my dad around. I didn't come from like the conventional, you know, mum, dad, brothers and sisters type family setup. My dad wasn't consistent. He wasn't consistently around, which then my older brother then kind of stepped in as the father role.
Okay.
So it was interesting. It's almost like in some ways you're being raised by your brother.
Okay, yeah.
Whose role model, you know, in his own right, wasn't the best. He's making it up as he's going along. Like, he doesn't know. He didn't have the guidance of a father to show him what to do. So the example that I'm following is what he's on. And he's on the streets.
Yeah.
So
you on the streets?
So you're basically on the streets. Like, there was no guide. And my mum at the time was always working. Like, she did the best that she could for us. She was always working. She was so hardworking.
Yeah.
And,
I remember.
you know, not having that womanly figure around to kind of show you, and being almost like directed by your brother, who I was closest to at the time, was difficult.
So how would you say that's impacted who you are now? Or what boundaries did you have to set to overcome some of the negatives you spoke about?
I remember growing up, I never liked the lifestyle. Do you understand? I never liked it, but it was just the way things were.
Yeah.
And I was determined not to accept it.
What lifestyle?
So how things were, like, you know, it was like there was a lot of involvement with police.
Okay.
At the house, there was a lot of arguments, a lot of fighting. And I think growing up, I saw it, but I don't know how at that age, like, it was just not an environment that I wanted to grow up in. Like, it just wasn't an environment that I wanted to be in. I didn't want to be the same as what I saw. So I think that's how I even got into my first relationship. Because for me, that was an avenue and a doorway out.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't need to be at home as much anymore. I can be somewhere else. I don't need to, you know, be around this lifestyle where my brother has police knocking at the door every few weeks because God knows what he's done. Do you understand? Like, it was an escape. It was easy. It was an easy way out.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, it was just like, I don't want this for myself. I don't want this for myself. Like, no, I can't. I can't have this. And quite like, you know, things happen later on that I feel like also had a good impact.
Okay.
That then also kind of changed my direction. But I would say just home life in general was like, it was just tough.
Yeah.
And I feel like today, the impact that it has is it's made me so determined.
Okay, yeah,
like,
definitely.
Majority of the time we talk, there has to be a mention of money. Sounds like Shaneka, give it a rest. Like,
money,
come on.
girl.
But it's like, it's made me so determined that history isn't going to repeat itself.
But do you think that having money will be the answer to what the emotional trauma that you faced?
I think a lot of the emotional trauma was because there was a lack of resources.
Okay.
Mum was always gone. I hated the fact that my mum didn't pick me up from school.
Yeah.
That was that was something that was quite deep
like
for me.
We used to collect
like
your little sister.
Yeah,
so we'll leave school
and
then quickly get the bus
and go straight to pick up my little sister from school because my mum, you know, wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone had their parents coming to school to pick them up. And my mum was never there. She couldn't afford to be, because if she was there to pick me up, it meant that she wasn't working and she wouldn't have the money.
Which is interesting, sorry to cut you, but just quickly, I was working full time, and I remember there was a time that I can't remember if it was a half day at work or whatever it may be, but I was able to go and get the girls for the first time. And I stood there waiting, and the teacher was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Mum." And I just felt so sad. I was just like, I've been working so much that I've never actually dropped my kids to school or collected them. It's either been my parents or after school club, breakfast club, solely because it's like you're so focused on wanting them to have a particular life. And then sometimes it comes in an imbalance, because then I was just like, I've never collected you from school, and I actually felt really bad. But yeah, it's not easy. So do you think that if you could start, so obviously you are who you are and you're still growing and changing, but if there was tools that you think you've equipped yourself with to enable you to be who you are, for example, like obviously you work, you've got children, you know, you still make time for like how you've just balanced your life and how you are, what would you say are some of the fundamental things that you've had to equip yourself with to enable you to be able to
do that? So boundaries is very important. I know everyone has a different outlook on it, but boundaries, whether you're a friend, whether you're family, it doesn't make a difference. Yeah. If you cross that boundary,
but you're strong on the boundary crossing.
Done. I am,
and that is where we will differ slightly.
Yeah.
Shaneka's very like out my life.
I'm done, and I feel like it's because it doesn't take nothing for me to be done. Yeah. For me to be done, it means you've done a lot, or I feel like the impact that you're having in my life is very negative, and it's going to start affecting me in a very negative way. Yeah. So if I feel like what you're doing or you're being or, you know, whatever it is impacting me very negatively, then I have to do whatever it takes to keep moving. Yourself. Yeah. I've seen how keeping certain relationships can have a detrimental impact on your life, all in the name of family. And I don't think it's necessary.
Yep,
I don't think it's necessary. Everyone needs to know how to act. If you can't
how to act
correctly, then you need to be prepared for whatever is coming with that.
It's true.
So definitely boundaries, self-awareness, knowing who I am and knowing the changes that I need to make as well, knowing that you're not perfect, knowing my weaknesses, knowing my flaws, and making sure that I'm putting things in place.
How do you go about identifying your weaknesses? Is it a matter of reflection, or do you wait for someone to say to you?
That is 100% not me. I'm not very good at receiving.
Oh, you think? Because I was just about to say, this girl, that's why I said, I wonder how she reflects.
I'm not very good at receiving, like, criticism. Yeah. I'm not. At all. I like to do all the thinking beforehand. I'll reflect on everything. Before you've even come to tell me what I've done that's not good, whether I admit it at that time or not,
yeah,
99.9% of the time I know.
Yeah,
I know. I do so much reflecting. I'm such a deep thinker that I'm constantly thinking about, why did I do that? What was the reason? What was the purpose? Why, what you could have done differently?
Yeah.
What feeling did you have at that time, etc.
So what you are good at, one thing I would say is that if Shaneka calls me all rowdy, ready to go off on somebody, you are good at, if I'm like, Shen, I'm not sure about that one, she'll be happy to. The good thing about our relationship is that she trusts me enough to be like, okay, cool.
But I'm still angry with you.
Yeah, she'll be like, I can hear in her voice that as I'm saying,
I'm even angry with you now, as well as the person for telling me not
I'm in the firing line all of a sudden, because she called me the other day, going, and I was just like, I'm not sure that's the correct way to do it. And when you love your friend, you can feel what they're feeling. So sometimes you want to while out too. You want to be like, nah, this person's taken. But then, because you love, the love for them makes you have to think about what is the best advice for them now, definitely, based on who they are. And I feel that's a good balance we have, that I'm able to say, bro, I'm not sure. And then she'll be like, I can hear in her voice that she's not happy with what I'm saying. And I know she would have preferred it if I was just like, yeah. But the good thing I can appreciate is that you'll hear it. Then you'll be like, okay, cool, calm down. And later you'll be like, you're such a bitch. But at least, and in the same way, I'll go to her and be like, right, that's it, I'm mad. And then she'll be like, and I'm just like, well, because I hate to be wrong. Yes. Something I'm working on. Definitely. But yeah, I would say that you do, I think even if not immediately, you are good at identifying at some point. But you just have a lot of pride.
Me? No. Pride?
You have a lot of pride. So we are working on it. We are working on it. We are working on it.
It's all work, but we're getting there. And it's good. Like, there was a time when I wouldn't even call. Yeah. I do. And then I'd call and be like, yeah, this is what I just
100%.
This is what I just said.
I'll be like, no way you sent that message. Please tell me you didn't send it.
I did. And I'll be so confident in my actions. But now it's just like,
we're breathing.
Yeah, we are.
We're doing, we're meditating.
Definitely.
So just a quick last question on, obviously we're discussing your childhood and who you are. So do you think that, so obviously you're here now and, you have learned a lot, I can imagine. So I know it's such a cliche question, but it's important. If you look back on let's take you 16-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself? Not to say you'll do anything any differently, but looking back on some of the choices you made that could have been made just because of some trauma you faced in your childhood, now that you've overcome certain things, you've worked on, your character, what would be something you could look at when you're 16? Like, what would you say to yourself?
Know your self-worth. Know my self-worth. As much as I was a big and loud mouth and I thought I was lit, there was the real me. I think I probably had quite low self-esteem, and I didn't really know my self-worth. On the grand scheme of things, it looked like I knew who I was, I knew what I was doing, I knew what I wanted. But I feel like there's certain decisions that I made, and there's certain decisions that I made that I probably wouldn't have made if I had loved myself and respected myself a bit more.
Yeah. And that's strong. And I think that's powerful. And I think it's really good to identify that, because not only then can you embed that in your children, but I think even though, when I'm 16, I'm so young, you're still at an age where you're able to make conscious decisions. And I think it's important to know that, okay, do you know what? That may have been coming from this place, and then it allows you to work on that. So now, because it's easy, people like to assume that with age things change. No, I know people that when they were 18 and now they're 33, they're the same person.
Yeah, the exact same.
Age doesn't mean you're going to naturally change. If you aren't willing to work on yourself, or if you're not willing to identify things that may have not been that great for you, why are you ever going to change? And you can end up being the same person. So I think it is really powerful to be able to look back and say, actually, certain things I've done at that age, or certain way I carry myself probably led to A, B, or C. So yeah, I think that's a powerful bit of reflection.
Very.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I do.
So, Charlene,
I know what's coming. I'm running.
Like, for me, like, thinking about us and our relationship, like, I would have always said, growing up, you had a very strong character.
What does that even mean?
You were just a very strong person.
Yeah.
That was very good at not showing emotion.
Yeah.
Like, you had none. There was no emotion.
All right.
Charlene did not cry. You can be crying. You could be having an argument with Charlene.
Yeah.
You're crying, and Charlene will be looking at you dead in the face, like not flinching. Yes. And yeah, she doesn't care the fact that you're crying. Like, no,
I care, but it's just hard to like show that I care. In my mind,
maybe
I care.
Now you can be a bit more, you know, try to be. But growing up, like, and what is it? Why do you think that you
were that way?
Yeah. What is it about? Like, what made you so strong? I would say so much of a strong character and able to, like, because naturally it's not necessarily a normal thing to be able to. It's not very
feminine, is it?
To not show emotion. So the fact that he was able to, and from quite early.
Yeah.
What do you think kind of contributed?
Do you know what? That's an interesting question because it's hard, because I actually have heard this constantly my whole life, and it's only, like I said to you, like this year and maybe like the end of last year, I've really been working on myself, and I've realised that that might have been a defence mechanism. It might also have been, so my mum is the strongest person I know, and I know everyone says that, oh, my mum's Superwoman. No, I legit felt like my mum, I think I can count the amount of times I've seen my mum cry, and it's got to be like grief or something. Like, I've just never seen her cry over anything like you know, like, I've just not ever seen it. And not only have I not seen it, she carries herself in a way that makes me feel like, let's go. If there was only two, it's like, let's go. It's like very, I've never seen her depend on anybody. Like, my dad, like, I've just never seen her depend on a man like that. I've never seen her feel like,
vulnerable.
Never, that is the word. I've never seen my mum vulnerable. I've never felt like she's needed a man. So when I'm growing up, I'm just thinking that's what a strong woman looks like. But as a child, I'm not realising that, there was probably a lot of things that she was going through, but just not sharing it. Because when I think now, I don't want to be emotional.
Oh my God.
When I think now, Charlene. When I think now, obviously, about what my mum has actually been through, I'm like, yo, you should have been crying, which makes me feel like you probably was crying. You just never let me see you were crying.
Yeah.
And then now I look at her and I think, you've been through a lot, and it's hard. It's hard as an adult now to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because now I'm an adult and I've got children. I've been through a lot, and they're going to think I'm strong.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing that actually it's not the best. Maybe they need to see me cry. Yeah. Maybe they need to see that, mummy's upset because of this has happened or that has happened. And I feel like because that is all I knew, and my childhood was very like, I don't even know what word to describe it. Like, I spent most of my life, obviously I lived with my gran. My mum lived with us. Well, me and mum had our own house, but because my mum worked so much, I by default ended up living with my nan with my mum. And it just become like you said, my mum was always working, but her strength and her lack of emotion, as in me and my mum used to be so close. I say used to be because I think when I had my first child, it kind of like went a bit left. Let's just say it went left, and you'll all realise why at some point, but it went a bit left. But she's just never been emotional. So I think all I've known is that don't ever rely on a man. Your happiness doesn't come from a man. You have to be strong. You have to always have your own. Like, that's all I've known.
Yeah.
So as I've grown with very thick skin. But I feel like it's worked against me sometimes. I struggle in relationships because I struggle to be emotionally available. I struggle with friendships because, not necessarily struggle, but sometimes you want to connect, and like she said, my friend could be crying and I'm just a bit like, oh, like, don't cry, hug him, but it's hard for me to really like
connect with them,
get in there. Or sometimes I don't understand why they're crying. I'm thinking, why are you crying? Like, and it's really strange, but I know that there's probably good reason, but I just think that because all I've seen, I found it really hard. And then as I've grown, I think I've allowed myself, I think the real me is quite vulnerable and wants to, and I feel like I don't want to always be the strong one, actually. I don't want to be the strong friend. I don't want to, not that I don't want to be, but sometimes actually it's quite comforting and nice for someone to be like, do you need a hug? Yes, I do. So yeah, I think definitely for me, I think it stemmed from seeing my mum, but as I've grown, I've learned a lot about myself, and having a failed marriage, also I had to do a lot of reflection. I had to learn, I had to re-find myself and work out I can keep going even I'm sad. I can remain in a relationship, I don't care what kind, I can just go. Because I can remove how I feel about it. And I think the minute I've actually decided that no, your feelings count, they do matter.
They do matter.
All my relationships have changed. And for the better, because I've actually now decided that no, actually, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go here. I don't want to do this. And having that voice, and also just being able to be like, oh, I'm actually sad. Like, I think for the first time in maybe like God knows how long, I messaged my partner a little while ago. He was at work and I was just like, I'm sad. And he was just like, called me straight away, and I was like, I can't answer because I'm crying. I just thought like, I know, I don't want to get emotional.
Yeah, you're really emotional. Allow that, man. What are you doing?
I don't even know what's going on here.
Oh my God.
But genuinely, and although I wasn't able to speak to him, I did still feel really happy and proud of myself that I would still told him where my space, because I feel like, why do I always want to appear to be like, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, hey, outside? No, actually, I'm actually not. And I feel like for the lot from 2000 and maybe 16, when I had my, I was going to say youngest, she's no longer the youngest. I feel like I was just sad, like really sad, like depressive sad. But because all I've known to manage and to cope and to man up, I feel like I didn't deal with emotions properly. I just looked like I'm fine, but I remember there was a period I cried myself to sleep every day for like a month. I was just internally like sad, but I'll call my phone in my tears. I'll be like, hey, because I just thought, no one wants this. No one wants to hear or see this. So to go back to the question, sorry, I digress slightly. But yeah, I feel like genuinely, I think that character, not to say it's not me, because I'm not necessarily the most emotional person anyway, but I do think it's definitely come from my mum, and it's a positive. But also raising my children now, I want them to know that no, express yourself, be vulnerable, cry if you want to cry, and I think that it's healthy. I'm not saying I'm going to walk around crying all day. Everyone should get their tissues out, but it's healthy. If you need to. If you don't need to cry, then.
I think especially like when you have kids, and I think that's a whole topic for another day, but it's like expressing emotion is very important, and it's okay to express emotion, and we need to also ensure that we let our children know that it's okay to express emotion. I know in some cultures it's really downplayed, but it's important to let it.
It is. And I think
so the impact that you feel that it's had on your life, positive, negative, or what would you do? How have you turned it into a positive?
So I think it definitely was a bit of both, but the impact it's had on me now, how I've used it to my advantage, is when I talk a lot more now about how I feel. I try to make time to be expressive in all my relationships, whether they're platonic, relationship. I try to, be very honest with how I feel. One of my friends in particular always answers me, Charlene, are you okay? And then immediately she replies, don't just say I'm fine, because I always wanted to sound fine. And I'm learning to actually, if I'm not fine, sometimes I'm fine, but if I'm not fine, it's okay to be, oh, I'm not actually that great, but we move type of thing. Because I think mentally and spiritually, it's a good place to be in. And I feel that I didn't grow up in a heavily religious family, but when I was 19, I gave my life to Christ. And I feel like understanding how God moves has helped me immensely, because the comfort I now have, I never feel alone, even if I'm alone. I know there's that common saying, you could be in a room full of people and still be alone. Yeah, but I would never be alone because of the relationship I have with God. And I feel that spiritual connection has helped me, like fast forwarded something that could have been very, very problematic. So I feel that, you know, whilst I'm still learning how to be expressive, I feel that, you know, because of, I obviously had a breakdown in, you know, a marriage, which is a massive type of relationship. It forced me to have to, you know, check in and be like, Charlene, like, what can we do here? So I would say that at the moment, I'm consciously trying to really focus on my spirituality. I'm really trying to focus on praying, and, you know, people underestimate the power of prayer, and a lot of people are afraid to say they pray because it's almost just like you don't, like a hypocrite, like, oh, look at you say you're this and you're doing, like, I don't care. I'll pray in any circumstance or situation, or because I know that I need him. So when I pray, I get the strength, and then I can now be like, okay, cool, I'm ready to go. So as a whole, I would say that at the moment, I definitely feel that what I experienced in my childhood, or what I saw from my mum, whilst I used to think that, oh, it's made me so hard, I've also now seen that actually it's positively made me able to identify, one, when someone else may be doing it, so I feel I'm able to help others more, and two, it's made me realise that it's okay to ask for help, but it's also okay to be strong, if you can be. So yeah, I think, you know, these type of conversations, it's so hard to like put them in a time frame and be like, right, we've got this long, but we obviously just wanted to just have a real, just see where the chat goes, because you'll see anyway that this episode's not our first episode, and you'll see that we recorded some, and we reflected and thought, why are we trying to be what we've seen as opposed to why we really want, like, our true purpose. And the reason why I want to do this podcast isn't for the controversial statements. It's for the transparency of life happens fast. And things be happening to us that almost feels like it's God bantering me. Like, is this a joke? Is this a joke? But the more we speak, the more I realise that I think it's all for a reason. So we're hoping that, you know, we'll be able to keep coming to you every Sunday with something new, something fresh. Sometimes it will be like a conversation. Sometimes it will be a guest. Sometimes it will be topics. But essentially, we never want to forget our purpose, and we never want to, we're here to have an impact. I want, even if it's one person, I can say, oh, she done it, I can do it. She was able to pick herself up. She was able to wipe her tears.
She was able to keep going. Then I feel like our job is done. That's the main purpose.
It is. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have a friend like you.
Oh, Charlene, stop it. look.
I also, that, was talking about. Do you know what? I'm also very cringe. I struggle with words of affirmation.
She does.
I really struggle. Like, if one of my friends be like,
I messaged the other day. When we got home, it was late, and I messaged her and I said,
"Love ya."
And what did you do? Like, vomit faces or something?
I was just like, ah. Like, I really, like, my friends know the love is deep, but I really struggle to actually, like, express. Another thing I'm working on. You'll see, like, bare things I'm working on, bare. But I actually do appreciate this friendship, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to portray our true self. You guys are going to find me annoying at some point.
And how far we've come. Like, we used to do crazy things together.
We don't need to discuss things like that.
Okay, no problem, that's fine.
Trying to get us arrested. I'm a grown woman with kids. Do you see what happened to people getting arrested for things they were doing in Dubai?
No.
Ages ago.
No? Ages ago?
Yeah. It's not a current thing. You think that? Wow. I don't want no one knocking my door, please. It's all allegedly. No, but real talk. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So what if we want to reflect on today's pod and your week ahead? What?
It's interesting, like, that you spoke about, like, your emotions, because I feel like in some ways I'm quite similar when it comes to expressing emotion. I can equally be as, like, shut down. Like, a lot of people will say that, you know, I'm not very emotional. So I feel like it's quite similar for me too. It's work in progress. I am trying to be more vulnerable. I am trying to be more expressive. I am trying to, you know, be more...
Less confrontational.
I'm never confrontational. But, like, I'm trying to be more... I'm trying to grow, essentially, and change, you know, things and patterns that I've done in the past.
Yeah, 100%.
For a different outcome.
That is powerful. That state, I'm telling you guys, you cannot do the same things and want different results. It does not work. It would never work unless it's prayer. Keep praying. But if you really want change, you have to make a change. And this is what I think this podcast is.
Keep working.
It's a change that I would never have seen myself doing.
Never.
But I believe it's going to evoke the change in me that is needed for the next stage of...
For the next chapter.
Of my life. You don't notice I can sing. So if I start busting out in...
She can't sing. She likes to think she can. Was you in the choir?
I had a solo.
No, you didn't.
I did, remember Miss Adele?
No, I'm talking about in church.
Oh.
Was you in the
choir? The Lord wanted me for other things. I was in the church choir.
Was you?
But I was always put...
What was you,
but I was always put at the back. No, I was in alto.
Oh, no.
You was in soprano, because you know people in soprano... that you're singing with just anyone that can go, ah!
No, that's not true. It's because you can sing and hold your note high.
It's the only when you talk and you just talk in a high pitched voice.
That's not true.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you hear me bust out, no one should try and sign me. I'm independent artist.
Well, okay. I'm sure your contract's on its way.
Anyway, guys, we've been real. We've been Their Voice, Their Story. I've been Charlene.
And I've been Shaneka.
And we hope that you have a blessed week. We are going to have a blessed week. We're going to keep working on content and working on how we can keep coming to you as real as possible. Tune in next week for us to get a bit more deeper with our story, but also incorporate some guests, talk about some topics, because we're not ruling it out. Do you know what I mean? We're still gonna have a bit of a chat. We're just saying that's not our purpose solely. But I think that's about it. We love y'all. Please, if you haven't already, share, like, comment, subscribe. Don't be someone that just watches but doesn't subscribe. It will help us to help you. No. Let's do a cheesy smile.
No, let's not.
Let's go.
No.
1, 2, 3.
No. You've actually rehearsed it.
Yeah, but we can mute.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.